Do you want to join us up at the table and be all fun?
Sure, where would you like me?
Wherever you want to sit.
That's what I told last time.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we have some more people that join us. I almost missed the boat, so. Ooh, Heather's here. Do you want to do roll call?
All right. Nate Bogart, Connie Autumn,
Listen,
Deb White, Shinwar Money, Mikkel Pauline Normandan,
Here.
Willard Yellowbird, Heather Keeler.
Here.
Well, I'm partially here,
Well,
anyway. I don't have my sign. We don't have quorum, so we'll just skip that one for the moment. The next item on the agenda is citizens to be heard. Oh, Shinwar's here. Or maybe, yeah, Shinwar's here. Do we have any citizens that wanted to be heard today? Are you just here observing us?
I'm a reporter from Forum.
Oh, okay. Oh, geez. I better get my name. Hi.
I can get it for you.
We grab an agenda for me? Thanks.
We're very disorganized
This is-
chaos today, but we're here, right?
This is teamwork.
Thanks.
do you have the agenda? Oh,
So we can actually go ahead and go back to approval of the minutes in the agenda. So if you guys want to review what is this? The minutes for the January 15th, 2020 Human Rights Commission meeting, and also the agenda for today's February 19th, 2020 Human Rights Commission agenda, if you want to look at that, and let me know if you have any changes or comments.
I'll move to approve the minutes on the agenda.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the minutes for the Human Rights Commission meeting from January 15th, 2020 are approved, and the agenda for today's meeting, February 19th, 2020 are approved. Next up, do you have anything to report from our law enforcement liaison? Anything fun and exciting happening?
I have a couple things to report.
Awesome.
First off, the Moorhead Police Department is going to start a new hiring process. First thing is that the Moorhead Police Department is going to start a new hiring process starting next week. Applications could be submitted. It'll be February 24th through March 11th. We'll be accepting applications, and then we'll be doing our testing and hiring in March, April, and May from that process. The next thing is that our Police Activity League, our PAL League, is sponsoring a Major League Baseball pitch, hit, and run event. We hosted last year. We had about 75 to 100 kids that showed up last year. We're going to be doing it again this year. I believe it's going to be April 28th, but we're going to post it on our PAL League. I've been corresponding with them this week, just working with Parks to get the Centennial baseball fields set up. But I do know that Moorhead Crush, the softball association, is also going to do it on May 3rd. So anybody involved with softball that wants to do the Moorhead or the Major League Baseball event can sign up through the Crush website, and they can attend on May 3rd. The winners of those events have a chance to advancing to regionals, which are hosted at the Major League Baseball park. So ours would be at the Twin Stadium. So we're doing that. And then there's also and maybe you guys already know, but Sherry Larson with Moorhead Business Association approached us about being involved with the Diversity Job Fair that's coming up at the end of March. It'll be March 28th or March 26th down at the Marriott. It's sponsored by SEP, Moorhead Business Association, several other associations. I know they're still taking registration if you want to get a booth involved or if anybody wants to get a booth up and running for that. The police department will be there. And I know they have interpreters that are going to be there as well. I don't believe I have anything else, but something else might pop up.
Let us know. Thank you for that information. I know I think my kids have done that, that hit, pitch and run thing. It's pretty fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We had a good turnout last year and expect a much larger turnout this year as well.
Yeah, it's good.
I have some questions about the hiring process. How many positions are you guys looking to fill?
We currently have 3 positions open that we're going to be filling with an anticipated start date in June of this year. We also offered 5 positions this week, and those individuals would start in March. We're trying to get back up to our 61 staff that we're allowed. Right now, we're obviously short some staff, and we're anticipating at least 1 officer leaving for another agency.
You might not know this, or maybe you do. I guess, what are you guys doing to intentionally share these opportunities with the underrepresented populations?
Sure, as I just mentioned, we're going to diversity job fair. I also attended the diversity job fair down in St. Cloud.
Okay.
They had that 2 weeks ago at St. Cloud State. It was very well attended by students from throughout Minnesota, including individuals from North Dakota. I ran into somebody from Fargo, somebody from Mayville State, an NDSU student. There were hundreds of students down there that were involved with it.
Mm-hmm. But the diversity job fair, you said, is March 26th,
It is, yes.
and the open window to apply is February 24th through March 11th?
It is.
So isn't the diversity fair after the open?
Your math would be correct. But
Opportunity.
we are almost continuously hiring at the police department because officers are leaving for new positions. So our process, like I said, we offer jobs this week to 5 officers, and we're going to start another hiring process. They would still be able to apply at this process, and then be able to start in June or in the fall whenever we do our next hiring. But if we can make contact with them now or in March or in April, then we can explain the positions to them, and they can get signed up for our job announcements. When we do the next posting, they receive an email immediately.
Okay.
As soon as we post that job, it goes right to their email, and they can complete the application process right from that email. And it takes, the application probably takes 30 minutes to complete the initial application.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And my math was right. I'm like, I feel like.
I'm sure the hiring process takes a little bit longer for some individuals because they're in the police academy and they have to finish that sometimes as well. So it's good that they get on a list, or at least
Correct.
get those updates so that they can start in that process.
Your first portion was correct. We like them, they can apply now and they can get on our list, and when they graduate and they pass their skills programming, usually at Alexandria Technical College or another tech school, then they can be eligible to be hired at that point. So some of the people that are applying now won't be eligible to be hired until July when they complete their skills programming, but they would be eligible then for our next round of hiring off the list.
So the person have to have a degree for specific criminal justice or any degree?
No, in Minnesota, you can either have a 2-year degree from a accredited school in law enforcement specifically, or you can have a 4-year degree in criminal justice and then complete a 8-week skills program from one of the technical schools like Alexandria, or you can have a degree in education or biology, any 4-year degree, but then you also have to complete about a 5-month program through, again, one of the technical programs that's accredited. So they can have any degree, you just have to do a little bit more schooling if it's not a criminal justice degree.
Was that like police academy?
Yeah.
It would be similar to a police academy, like a 6-month police academy in advanced. Instead of doing the 2-year technical program, they advance it to a 6-month or 5.5-month technical program.
Okay.
So, okay, one more question. So when you're at the diversity job fair, do you're reaching out to all these people, do you kind of explain that to people, what the process is? and-
Absolutely.
And kind of get them so they can start gearing up to figure out what they need to do and what's involved?
Yep, so we're trying to kind of get out ahead of it, answer some questions for them. Oftentimes, people think that I have a degree, but it's not in law enforcement, so I would have to go back for 4 years to college to get into law enforcement. That's not the case. If they
Right.
have their 4-year degree, we try to explain to them that it's just a 6-month process now, or if they haven't started their schooling, it could be as simple as a 2-year process or 2 9-month terms of school to get through, to be eligible to be hired at that point.
Awesome.
I have one.
I'm like, that gave you another question.
So what about military experience? How does that play into, where would you fit in the different programs you would need?
They would have to call me specifically to get that answer, because I would have to talk to them, get some questions answered from them to see what role they had in the military. For example, my brother was in the military, in military police. He went to work after he got out, was a teacher for a couple of years, but then went to work for Fargo Police Department. They sent him through the training program. We don't, in Minnesota, we don't do that, but he had to go through a short training program. I think it was about an 8 to 10 week program, and then he was eligible to be hired. Once he was hired in North Dakota, he transferred over to Minnesota after that, based off of his military experience and experience with Fargo PD. So there are some options, but I'd want them to contact me
Individualized.
at the police department.
Thanks.
That's great information, thank you.
Welcome.
Next on our agenda, we have Councilmember Heidi Duran.
If you just give me a signal whenever you want it switched to the new slide.
I didn't bring my tablet, so I'll be reading on the screen.
And we're gonna move to the PowerPoint slide now.
Thank you for having me here so I could talk about this topic today. It's a topic that I am very passionate about, and I am very concerned about as well. It's a topic that is hitting our community quite drastically more than I think many people are aware. And it's the payday loan problem. I did put together a short slide, a short slide presentation. It won't take much of your time at all, but it's really helpful to see some of the numbers and to see what it's doing and what it's taking away from our community. So I'm sure everybody's heard the term payday lending. Maybe not everybody knows exactly what that refers to, but a payday loan is a small dollar, very high interest loan. We're talking $300, $250, $300, $400. The payday part of the loan is because these lenders require payback on the borrower's next payday. So a borrower has to prove that they are being paid, every 2 weeks or every month. They also require direct access to a borrower's bank account. That allows the company to take payments straight from the individual's bank account, which can be problematic because when a person believes that they are making payments on the principal, they figure they've made $400 payments, so their $400 loan is paid off, but they don't realize that after every payday, when the loan is not paid off, it rolls over into a second, third, or fourth loan with additional fees and whatnot. So money can be taken from a borrower's account without them even realizing it or knowing it, which we know can cause problems quite quickly and quite severely. These loans typically carry a triple-digit interest rate. Some of the averages we've seen in the state of Minnesota are anywhere between 250 to 500% interest rate. And these loans are made with very little to absolutely no regard for a borrower's ability to repay the loan. So the lenders aren't looking for anything other than proof of employment and proof of a bank account. Why do people use payday loans? That's, a big question. Some people say, these lenders are doing a service to our community by providing emergency loans for people who can't get money elsewhere. But when you look closer, about 70% of all borrowers have used their first payday loan for a typical or an ordinary expense, such as utility, groceries, etc. Currently in Minnesota, there is a law, excuse me, there are laws that they do some protecting, but they don't go far enough. So, currently in Minnesota, a loan that, $380 or so, it can cost as much as $40 to originate that loan, which translates to a 275% APR. And currently, there are no protections against the debt trap, which means taking out another loan because you could not repay the first loan. And so there are borrowers who have up to 10, 15, or 20 different payday loans at a time. We call that repeat lending. And it's, like I said, it's a succession of loans because if you cannot pay that first loan, then a borrower is typically forced to re-originate, which increases fees and increases that original loan amount. Let's see. Like I said, most cases, people average 10 loans, if not more. And then when you add in the fees that the borrower has paid, the fees oftentimes exceed the original loan amount. So if a person had borrowed $200, by the time they are able to get it paid off, they're paying well over that original $200. Sometime, it could be 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 times as much as that. So I said again, the average Minnesota borrower takes out 10 payday loans per year. As of 2017, and now it is 2020, but the most current information we have is 2017 and 2018. We're still waiting for 2019 numbers. These numbers are difficult to get because a lot of lenders don't want this information shared because it is somewhat startling. But as of 2017, we have lost $121 million in assets and wealth. And this money comes from the most financially strapped and vulnerable Minnesotans that you could imagine. These are individuals that don't have access to traditional means of lending. They may have poor or low or no credit scores. And so they are vulnerable to these types of lenders. Like I said before, 70% or so of borrowers take out these loans to cover ordinary expenses and not emergencies, like people like to lead us to believe. And the 3 largest lenders in Minnesota operate under what we call the industrial and thrift loophole that allows them to avoid state payday loan caps. And so there are some regulatory statutes that limit how much a person can take out in a loan, but that has to be done through a different type of license, a license for a small loan and pay, or in a pawn shop type license. And so our lenders got creative and realized that if they applied for this industrial and thrift loophole license, they would be able to bypass that cap that Minnesota puts on small loans. Excuse me. Almost half of the United States addresses the debt trap by bans, by caps, capping loans, capping interest rates, banning them all in general in different cities. Other types of reforms. Minnesota currently lags behind North Dakota and South Dakota in terms of what we do. So we're definitely looking to make some changes faster than we need, actually. 76% of all payday loans are due to reborrowing. So these are the people who get trapped and then have to take out repeat loans to pay off the original loans. So it is a vicious cycle, and not many people are able to get out without additional help from friends, family, and whatnot. So putting a little bit more emphasis on Clay County and where we stand in the state. As of 2018, like I said, we're still waiting for 2019 numbers. But in Clay County in 2018, there were $3,091,778 in loans, just in Clay County. The total number of loans were 11,000 approximately 856 individual borrowers. And this is this next piece of information is what there's a lot of information that's startling and concerning, but every year we lose $200,000 to $300,000 in interest and fees that could be directed into our economy, into our local economy, into our local stores and shops, that is going straight to these lenders in Clay County, which aren't very many. In Moorhead, there are 2. The average loan amount doesn't seem like a whole lot. It's $273. But when you think about the average number in Clay County of total loans is 13, that number is, can jump quite high quite quickly. The number of borrowers with 5 or more loans is 586. The number of borrowers with 10 or more loans is 456. Borrowers with 15 or more loans is 337. And the borrowers with 20 or more loans is 219, and that's in Clay County. We rank number 2 out of 24 counties in Minnesota per capita in terms of loans taken out, the amount taken out. So what can we do? We know it's a problem here. We know it's getting worse. There are things that we can do. There was a bill that was introduced last year, 2018, that would cap interest rates at 36%. And that's what a lot of states do. That would cover the industrial and thrift loans, as well as the small loan and pawn shop licenses, but that failed to pass. We definitely need to be proactive, and we need to contact our representatives down in St. Paul and ask them to close that industrial loan and thrift license loophole. But we can also do work as a city. There are cities across the United States that have been successful in capping local rates, limiting the number of reborrowing, additional loans that you can take. We can mandate a repayment length of time. We can mandate a loan tenure, which means how long that loan, how many times and how often that loan can be renewed, and then regulate fees and finances. There have been several cities in Texas that have taken it upon themselves to create these types of ordinances. We have not seen a city in Minnesota yet create their own ordinances. And like I said, we are lagging a little bit behind what North Dakota and South Dakota has done. North Dakota sets a maximum loan amount of $500. They have a database that they keep track, so you can't go from one city to another city taking out another loan. They have a state-wide database. They set a tenure of 60 days. Fees and finance charges are regulated and capped at 20%, and they set the maximum reborrows at 1. And as a result, after North Dakota passed this legislation, the largest lender in Fargo closed their doors and left Fargo. South Dakota caps their interest rates at 36%, and they allow 4 reborrowers. And South Dakota also saw many of their lenders leave the state. And until permanent changes are made, there is a place where Minnesotans can get help. They can get immediate help. There is a nonprofit out of St. Paul by the name of Exodus Lending. They are a nonprofit. They're dedicated to helping Minnesotans get out of the payday loan trap. They will pay off the loan directly to the lender, and they will work with the participant to create a 12-month payoff plan. It can be as little as $10 a month, $20 a month. It's individually based. There are no fees, and there's no interest to these loans. They have been very successful in helping people in the metro area. They are trying to spread the word to the greater Minnesota areas, especially here in Clay County, because we rank number 2 in terms of loans and money owed. And some other things that Exodus Lending is able to do is in 2019, they became a member of the Credit Builders Alliance. So now they can report payments to the Better Business Bureau and, the major credit bureaus, I should say, to help rebuild or maybe even establish credit ratings, credit scores. With improved credit, we know that people can obtain more traditional, more fair and reasonable types of loans and money and access to money. And those can help individuals with housing, vehicle financing. Sometimes our jobs will even look at our credit scores. And Exodus Lending also has the goal of decreasing the risk of people using these high-interest payday lending institutions. And lastly on this presentation is my cell phone number. If anybody is interested, anybody needs help, I can definitely get people in touch with the right people. There's also the email and the website to Exodus Lending, as well as the phone number to that organization as well. All right. That was a lot of information, a lot of numbers.
Was a lot of numbers.
Josh, will that presentation be on? Will be part of the
materials
okay.
for the.
Excellent, thank you. And so I am going to ask for your help, your support, in advocating for the city of Moorhead to take some type of action. I'm not sure what that would look like at this point in time. We do have the city manager looking at different things, different options that we can legally do here in Moorhead to try to reduce the issue. But more support and more voices is obviously better than just a few. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, okay, so I've got one or two. So we're talking, when you're talking about payday loans, it's like just facility or loan, businesses in town.
Yep.
This isn't dealing with anybody who goes and applies for payday loans online, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I'm like,
That's
well,
a whole-
what's that gonna stop? Yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms, and I wasn't sure how that
Exactly.
would
Exactly.
affect that. So we have 2 places in
Yep.
town that do
There are
that?
2 in town. Yep.
Okay. And they don't check to see what you have out there, huh?
Not in Minnesota.
Huh, that seems crazy.
Any other?
That's the only
and
question I had. I was like,
when, you know,
does that stop?
When I had asked, and when I talked about coming to present here, Joshua actually reached out and said, I am interested in this. I have actually worked in this, and have experience with this issue. So he could, answer any questions too, or tell you his experiences.
Well, you'll just, I mean, I don't know what we can do to help, but I feel like we'd certainly,
Yeah.
I mean, whatever we can do to spread the word, or,
Yeah.
I mean, it's important, because I'm sure it's a demographic that is hard to reach that are doing it. But then it's, on the other hand, it's like, okay, so what do these people do when they feel like they have to pay this bill? Where else can they go? I mean, it's desperate, and it just is a,
Which is why we need to have more community conversations as well, because if a person is trying to decide, do I pay my utility bill or do I buy my groceries, that's a tough decision to make. And we have no shut-off laws in the winter. But in the summer, you know, things can be shut off, and you may resort to taking out a payday loan thinking it's just a small loan, I'll be able to pay it off in no time. And then all of a sudden, you're thousands of dollars in debt because you couldn't pay that first loan. So, but working with our partners in the community, working with MPS, and maybe, you know, coming up with creative ways we can help people so that they're not in a situation where they have to decide payday loan or make my utility payment.
I have a question. Comments, maybe. Okay, first, when I just listened to the type of person that this would be, it kind of makes me think of like the working poor, because they don't sound like they would maybe be eligible for some of the services supports, because you have to have the bank account, you have to prove that you have some sort of an income, yet a lot of the things that they're using them for are things that I feel like our community should support. The working poor, because I
Right.
think this is a bigger problem that, you know, we see it a lot in higher ed, that it's that conversation of, if I go out and work minimum wage, it's not even enough to pay my rent, but yet I'm out having a job, so then I'm not eligible for community supports. And for us to be second in 24 counties tells us we're not doing something right in the community. So when you reached out to me, I wasn't totally sure. I'm really glad you came to give some specific information, because I was lost in kind of what this conversation was. But I can see how this is a population of that working poor, but I wonder if do you have any like partnerships with the universities that are kind of in this like next step in life and financial, like personal finance, that I don't think we talk a lot about this. We talk a lot about debt that you carry with your, like, not taking too much out on your student
Loans, right.
That if this isn't part of that conversation of kind of these debt traps, I'm kind of just talking out loud, I think, but.
no, I
that-
understand.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
these areas of pockets of smaller conversations. And I'd be more than happy to help get connected in any of those spaces that I can. And I'm not going to speak for Deb, but, you know, I think that she would be able to help in some of that in the MSUM system as well. My other thing is, you talked about the bill that failed with the 38%. Is that another bill that's up? Are we representing that bill?
Yep, there will be new legislation that will be coming forward, yeah.
So I'm going to be really honest, I guess, in my approach. I thought that was really high. I thought when that came out in the education, I don't think the education was strong enough for us to understand that that's actually very low. Like, in my mind, I think of a loan, and 38% on a loan is
It's
huge.
high, right.
And so I was like, why would we, I'm not going to support that, because
Right.
that's ridiculous. But when you give, like, the North Dakota and South Dakota rates, I'm not sure that, for me, I didn't see that awareness enough in the campaign.
That's a good point.
So, I mean, I think that if we did better in doing that, and then it goes to the bigger part of, I think that in our community, we need to be better at outlining how we communicate on a state level to create change, because I think often we forget that if only a couple of us send letters to our state representative, that makes a big impact. I think that we get stuck in this feeling of like, well, it's just my voice and my neighbor's voice that feel this way, so we're not going to go through the process to send something to our state.
Sure.
When really, 4 or 5 letters could make a huge impact in support. So I think if it comes to what maybe we can do, it's that bigger picture of helping to make connections to have the conversation, but then also making sure that we help educate our own populations about the absolute possibility that we can create state change. Because I think who did we talk to about getting us a template of
Of a
what a
letter
letter
to-
would look like to our representative?
That'd
And
be
I don't know.
nice.
Who
I
did
don't
we talk
remember.
to? Was that not here?
I
It might
think you
not have been
made
here.
that, yeah.
I didn't make it up. But it might not have
I
been
feel
here.
like it didn't happen here. But I was actually just thinking that'd be really nice if we, I mean, because a lot of people are like, oh, I don't even know what to say. But
Right.
if we had some kind of you could say this and reword it, and
Yeah,
that would be,
I can provide that.
yeah.
And, you know, Commissioner Keeler, you bring a very, very good point. It is a working poor issue, but it's also an issue that doesn't get talked about, because this is something that people don't want to brag about.
Right.
It's something that
Well, it's
many people are
embarrassing.
embarrassed about,
Yeah,
right?
it would be embarrassing, because, say if you are making this wage and you qualify for some stuff, and then all of a sudden, you make just like a few dollars more, and all of a sudden you're off all the programs, what do? I mean, it's not really motivating for people to
Yeah.
do better either, and it's,
Well, and when
It's
people,
hard.
people have to go to a payday, a loan place, it's different than going to a bank and asking for a loan. That's, I need a loan so I can buy a house, so I can buy a
Right.
course, or I can, go to college. You don't talk about going to a payday loan because you don't have any money in your account and you need to buy your groceries. That's,
right.
there's a big cloud of shame regarding the issue, and we need to, blow that cloud away and remove that, so people will come out and ask for help, and we'll talk about their experiences.
So I've just got a couple quick questions. The loan trap, so let me just make sure my math is right. If the first loan has an interest rate of 205%, and they have to take out a second loan to pay the first one, and that second loan is another 205%, and then the third one, another one, that's about 700 or 615%.
Yep.
Wow.
But
See-
are they actually taking out new loans, or are they just rolling it over?
What happens is, so if you have a loan of $200 and you're expected to have it paid off in 2 weeks, 2 weeks comes and you've only paid off 100, you have to take another loan to pay off the 100 that you already owed, plus the interest and fees that you had accumulated with that first loan. And so when you add the fees and the interest to that principal,
Snowballs.
that's
I
when.
just, yeah. And going back to.
And that's a small loan, too. I mean, most
Right.
people it's $300 or more.
Going back to the demographic part, do we have any demographics on the medium age, the average age, or the average education? I know they're vulnerable, but some of these people, they'll get an education, like at MSCTC, but then they'll just, it's a cyclical process,
Yeah.
You don't have any hard demographics on who or what race, what ethnicity, what religion, what age, what gender,
Yeah, I just,
They don't collect it because there's no interest.
right?
They don't-
When these
It's like-
lenders, send in their information, they're not required to send in any demographics. They just have to
Yeah, I
send in
was-
the raw numbers.
I was just mainly looking at age and education. I think vulnerables are in every ethnicity.
Yeah,
Right, I was
exactly.
gonna say, when you need groceries or utility,
Yeah.
I don't think that's
There's-
specific to one group. I think
Exactly.
that's everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a tenant in Fargo, and sometimes she can't pay her rent on time because she can't get food for the
Right.
Well, you're
kids.
choosing.
Right.
You're choosing, but I mean,
Priorities of life.
yeah, but thankfully she's never said, "Yeah, I'm getting a payday
But you
loan."
don't know that.
Thankfully,
She
she's
could
never
be.
said that, so I'm just under the assumption that she's never done it. But
I-
then she doesn't have a bank account either.
I will say, we have some hypotheses and some theories about who takes out a payday loan. And, we talked about colleges and college students. And actually, because college students typically are younger, now I'm not talking about our older college students that go back to college later in life, but our younger ones have taken out payday loans, but typically are able to pay them off because they have assistance of friends
Yep.
or they have assistance from parents.
See, when I was in college, we all did really weird things or dumb things, but when I was in college and wanted to take a vacation, I took a loan, an unsubsidized loan from college.
Yeah.
And I used that for my vacation, and it was interest-free until 6 months after I graduated.
Right.
But, so is it that some of these kids that are in this loan trap don't know about the options that they have in college? Or do they just not qualify as well?
Because I actually did have to do that at a time when I was divorced and I wasn't getting any child support, and I was paying my rent and all my utilities and feeding my kid. Well, I'm sorry, but
So you took it in payday loan?
yeah, but it wasn't like in town, it was just one online, and then it just took the same amount out. Then it wasn't like it wasn't, you could set up payments kind of
Okay,
thing.
okay.
It was like, it came out.
Right.
You knew exactly how much it was gonna be when
Yep.
your check came out.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it's it's hard when you have to make that decision, and you're not gonna sit there and go, oh my God, I have to pay my rent in 5 days or I'm out. You don't have time to evaluate all your options.
The thing that I appreciate your dedication to this, because it reminds me of the time when I was in grad school and my wife was in nursing school. Between us, we were making $892 a month for 9 months. And that was, I mean, we were drafting from we were taking out from our savings account. So I can't imagine
And
how hard it is for them.
the working poor live paycheck to paycheck, and,
Yeah.
you know, maybe 25% have a savings account. Most don't have any kind of security net.
Yeah, and we were getting
If you're
one check a
young,
month.
if you're young and you have friends or you have family, these tend to be the emergency loans. They can be the emergency loan, because if you need, you know, tires, or your car gets, you know, breaks down, it's an immediate fix until you can talk to your parents, or until you can get money from a grandparent or something like that. So the students that I've talked to that have actually said, yeah, I've done this, I've taken out a payday loan, they said, but my grandpa paid it off for me, or my grandma paid it off, or my dad helped, you know, so
Right.
Some of those aren't the, yeah.
those are
I
the
wouldn't call-
exceptions.
Yeah, I wouldn't call those the vulnerables.
No,
At least
no.
I wouldn't think.
Well, and I think when I was talking about college, it was more like if we talk about it like, there's things that I learned or heard in college that then like 20 years later, I'm like, oh, I think somebody said this is not a good idea.
That makes me hopeful that in 20 years, some of my students will remember something that.
Yeah, but have we thought about having more like community conversations? Like you said that, like how do we do that? Like talking circles? Because this is not sitting well with me, because it's not about the payday loans, it's about what obligations our community members are feeling. Like that's more my mind frame that I'm going to, is that if we have such a high need of families that are working and are trying to do the best that they can, but they just cannot make the necessities happen, that our community is failing them
Right.
with services and supports. And so, I mean, I don't know, do we start with just having small pockets of conversations at Frying Pan and get more people in? Because this is very disturbing to me now that I know more about it.
You're exactly
Also,
right.
I'm like so appalled that I voted no on the 36, because I thought that was really high, and in reality, that could help, like, our community.
But how many people were like yourself?
Probably
and
a lot.
saw that and thought, well, that's
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not voting for that. That's people are
Yeah.
gonna, yeah.
So,
It was.
but then, also, can we advertise at these two places of community supports? Like, if you're going in for groceries, and like, I don't know our supports well enough, but if there's some sort of space that you could go in the community, like, is there anything saying we can't advertise community support? So if a mom goes in and needs diapers or help, and they don't know about the county services, like, is that just a little simple thing that we could do at this point? Because can we hang flyers?
But
Or-
don't you think that a lot of those people probably already know, I mean, they
Not
can't
really.
qualify, but maybe they don't qualify for it, so that's why they have to
Yeah.
go and do
Yeah,
this.
But what if there's 3% population that don't even know about it?
True.
And we have talked with Lakes and Prairie, the action
Yeah.
committees, and we have, there is a strong faith-based backing to the issue. There's a particular Lutheran church in town that has given money to Exodus, and you know, has donated and wants to do more work. So there are the beginnings. There's a lot of seeds that are in the ground, but we need to continue to water them, I guess, because you know, it did get some attention a couple years back, and then the conversation kind of waned a little bit, and now we need to revive it again, especially with, you know, elections coming up, and we want to see legislation introduced again. But I don't want to leave it at just the state. We can do things locally too.
The last question I have is about this database in North Dakota. Is that that's a state database, right? Okay, so we'd have to pass something at the state level to,
So what stops people from getting one in Fargo and then coming across the river?
Nothing.
Because you'd almost need
Because
it.
North Dakota wouldn't have the Minnesota loans on there, right?
Right, yeah,
Okay.
the shared
I was-
database.
yeah,
But
like-
either way, if you had them on both sides and there was a cap, like, people are having 15 to 20
I know.
loans. Like, if
That's in Clay
If-
County.
that stayed in this, at least, you know what I mean? We
Yeah.
could limit you to 4 or something. I mean, at least we're helping. That is just, I
Yeah,
am
but is,
I know, I'm
sitting
just
well
like-
with me
is
right
the
now.
did I read right, the maximum was $500 in North Dakota?
Yeah.
So
what's our
500 there, 500
There
here, that's
We have a
$1,000.
0 max.
Was there a max in Minnesota?
I didn't see anything, yeah.
So can that be a city or is that has to be a state?
Our city attorney is looking into that right now. We've got some information from some other city councils who had looked at doing this, and they had claimed that the state had said, no, you can't do anything locally because it has to go through the state, but we don't think that's true.
Yeah.
So we have our city attorney looking at what exactly we can do here.
When you get more information, can we maybe have you come back and? fill us
Yes,
in on the
and it would help too if the Human Rights Commission maybe takes it up as a cause and you bring it to the whole council, or if you
Well, that's what I
wanna-
was just gonna ask, like, what, so how?
How do we
okay, so
do
Walk
that?
through me how would change happen on a city level? Like, what needs to happen for us to bring it to the city to make an action that there's either a citywide database, a limit, you know, like, what does that process look like for us to be able to do?
At this point, we need to find out exactly what we can do as a
Okay,
city, and once we know from Attorney Shockley, we'll have a better idea of what roads or what paths we can take. I do believe the council is supportive of the idea, potential ideas, and so it would really be seeing support from your commission as well as other individuals in the community that you know of that might want to share their support.
Okay.
But I'll be back again. I'll ask, there will be an invitation coming for a get-together, a community conversation with other stakeholders, such as, banks, faith-based institutions, education, utility companies.
I think it needs to be an ongoing conversation.
Yes, it does.
Gotcha.
And it can't, it can't go away until the lenders go away.
well, good information, but now we're fuming.
My brain
My
is like,
insides are a little,
Well, and there is so much. There's a website called Minnesotans for Fair Lending, and they have a lot of good information, which is where I got some of my information, but I also got some of my information from Exodus. But there's a lot of good information there, and there are even a lot of good documentaries that you can just Google. You can find them on YouTube, Netflix, that go into a little bit more detail about how corrupt some of these things can be. But yeah, I would strongly
know if I
recommend
can-
a blood pressure medication before watching those.
awesome, thank you
Do you
for,
have anything else, Josh, that you?
That was excellent.
All right. Well, thank you again for having me here, and I'm happy to come back as soon as I hear something from
awesome,
Attorney Shockley.
great, thank you.
wow. I'm like,
I didn't mean to be a big downer.
well, it just gets your brain thinking on such a big.
I know, now I'm gonna research,
Good. Well, I'm glad.
Just so mad I voted no.
I don't remember what I voted.
I know, but I mean, like.
Josh,
and
are
that-
you,
Okay.
you're up?
Yeah.
I don't see, do you have a helper?
No,
all you.
unfortunately, our Kim Citrowski was not able to be here due to a last-minute trip to Hawaii.
Oh,
Cause that,
Unexpected.
okay.
So, yeah. So I'll talk about the
now that
census
you've
a little bit.
outed her on it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I just, it was requested that we talk a little bit about the census. We had come, I know some of the city people come and talked probably a year and a half ago about the census work. The census is upcoming. April 1st is Census Day. People are going to start getting their notifications about the census in mid-March, so pretty soon. It's a huge deal, this census. They all are. It's super important. The census impacts a lot of things, but to really boil it down, keep it brief, it's really about money and power. Power is in how we're represented nationally and at the state level. They take the census info, and that's how they decide how many representatives each state gets in the House of Representatives. In the last census, Minnesota was this close to losing one of their 8 seats. Apparently, we're at risk of it again. If we don't have a really strong showing in the count, potentially we'll lose a seat and end up having just 7. The money part of it, about $15.5 billion comes to the state from the federal government every year through various federal programs. That $15 billion goes to the state, it trickles down to the local level. That money is largely set based on census numbers and population. So having a full accurate count is a big deal. The state demographer of Minnesota estimates that every missed person is $2,800 per year that the state and local communities miss out on. So if you think of that over the next 10 years till the next census in 2030, every missed person is about $28,000 the state lost. A family of 4 that's missed during this count would equate to over $100,000 that Minnesota and Moorhead lost out on. So it's a big deal that we make sure everyone counts. The city has been working on efforts to bolster the count, make sure we get the word out. The U.S. Census Bureau does the count. They're the ones that perform the count, do all the activities around that. What we've done is really just work to get the word out that the census is coming. It's important. You should, fill out that census form. There is, shockingly enough, there's government mistrust. So people hesitate sometimes to fill out those forms for a lot of reasons. One, sometimes trust in the government, not wanting to give Big Brother information. Sometimes it's as simple as you've got more people in your apartment than you're supposed to have, and they're afraid that their landlord's gonna, get that information and they're gonna be kicked out. So sometimes fear is a big part of it when it comes to people not answering the census. Some of the messages we try to get out there are that the information is secure. Only the Census Bureau can access that data. When that data is processed and shared, it's simply, statistics. It's grouped together. No personal data is shared outside of the Census Bureau. Legislatively, that is how it's required to be. Nobody else can get to it. So the city is putting forth as much effort as they can to get the word out. There are certain hard-to-count groups, snowbirds, minority populations, renters, parents with single parents with children. There's a lot of different groups that the census designates as hard to count, and so we're working in different ways trying to focus on some of those groups. But again, just to get the word out that it's important, it's safe. You don't have to worry about your information being used against you, and everybody needs to be counted. This year is going to be a little bit different than 10 years ago. This is the first time that the census is actually hoping to collect the data mostly online. So people are going to get an invitation to go to a website to fill out the information that way. They'll get a couple of reminder cards, and then if they don't respond that way, that's when someone will show up knocking on the door to try to collect the info the old-fashioned way. It's a pretty brief form, a handful of questions. It takes 5-10 minutes to fill out. But again, we want to make sure people are aware of it, looking for it. It's tough in this day and age. There are a lot of scammers out there. Just today, somebody brought in a form that was sent out by a political party that looked like an official census form. It said official document on it, and it looked just like the old census forms appeared. And so you were also trying to, warn people about scams, and also make sure that they know if you filled this out, that doesn't mean you completed the census form. We still need you to fill it out when you get that card in the mail. That's real brief. We're participating in lots of activities. We're getting out every chance we can in the community
Are you going to that job
to share.
diversity fair?
Yep. Well, yeah, I believe we are. I don't know if it's fully set up yet. We did go to the previous job diversity fair, and it's excellent that you'd bring that up because jobs is another big part of this. The Census Bureau itself is really struggling with staff. As of right now, they do not have enough staff to completely count the way they need to. So we're really encouraging people to apply for these jobs. The census jobs are great second jobs or first job, if you don't have one, or if you're looking, you can work as little or as much as you want working for the Census Bureau. It's going to be from April to about the end of August that people will be able to do this work. They can go online and apply for those jobs. In Clay County, the starting wage is $19 an hour, up from 15, and they've upped it because they're really struggling to hire people. So it could go up again,
For my vacation.
right? That's good. Yeah.
That's good. Is there anything that we can do?
I would say get the message out as best you can. You know, talk about it when you can talk about it. If you're part of any groups, faith-based organizations, community service organizations, if you can talk about it, you know, if you want, if you're part of a group where you can invite a speaker in, invite me in, I'll come talk about it.
Trips to Hawaii coming.
I don't have any trips to Hawaii coming up. I can be mildly entertaining when I need to be. So I make fun of Texas a lot when I talk about the census. In 2010, they gained 4 seats. In 2020, they're projected to gain another 3 seats. I don't know what Texas has that everybody's flocking to it. But some other states have gained 1, 2, but Texas is just killing everybody when it comes to gaining population. I don't know why.
Mexico is coming in, maybe that's why.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but Texas, I don't know why someone would choose to live where they have
It's
spiders
warm.
the size of your fist, you know,
Warm.
like.
Yeah.
So do you have links or information on the city website?
On the city website, there's a census page where we've got a video, we've got some good information about the count. We've been working on some public service announcements. Connie was grateful enough, or we appreciate Connie coming in. We're grateful for him. He came and recorded a PSA in Somali, and we've had someone come in and do that in Kurdish, Spanish, and Arabic. And MCAM right now is working to put together those PSAs so we can have them on social media and on our website and running on the public service channel as well.
Can you let us know when those are out there so
Yeah.
that maybe we can each individually go on and share those?
Yeah, absolutely, I can do that.
Okay.
But yeah, so we're working to get the count out. You can look for us. We're going to be in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Walking out and handing out stuff. We're gonna be wearing census shirts. We're gonna have a census banner on a city vehicle, and hand out candy. No, they aren't green. They should be. Minnesota has their own logo and color for the census. But so you can watch for us out there. We'll be doing that. One of
Are
the.
you gonna throw candy?
Apparently you're not allowed to throw it, which is disappointing.
You can
I've always
roll it.
wanted to
You
do
have to
that.
roll it.
You
Yeah,
can roll
or
it.
hand it. So,
Roll it.
y-
Stickers.
but yes, we're gonna have stickers and candy, and we'll we'll gently roll it or gently hand it to people on the side of the street. Yeah, different activities. We've applied to hopefully have a booth at the powwow coming up at the end of March in the community. So we're trying to again get the word out where it's needed, and hopefully break down some of that fear around the census.
I did tell him to reserve you a spot
Awesome.
because I think it's important.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because it opens April 1st.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, so it's like 2 days before it
Yep.
opens. So
And it's
super
gonna,
short.
I mean, so it's open for response through at least the end of April, and door knockers won't go out until the end of April. So we're hoping that, you know, everybody up front is responding or at least as much as possible.
When you do this, do you know anything about this? If you apply for, a job during that time, would that be door knocking jobs, or do you think there's other?
4 different options of jobs.
Okay.
I looked.
Yeah, there's
But I
different
was
types of
doing it 'cause
jobs.
I hear it
I
on
would
the
guess that a
radio.
lot of them are gonna be contacting people that way, but that's not all of them. There are other
Some of them
types.
are like manager, like almost like managing different
Yep,
sites and
there's
areas.
there's supervisors and,
Interesting.
yep.
It was. I looked.
I was going to, and then I always hear it when I'm driving, and I'm like, not gonna pick my cell phone out to make myself a note, so then I forget.
Yep.
No texting.
I am a.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
you should be.
We all are,
It's a huge
actually.
fine in Minnesota. Do not text and drive.
And I'll say he and I are proud of you.
Not good.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So if we have like other groups that might need to hear some of this, can we just email you?
Yeah, if you email me, if we can, if I've got the time, I can come talk to them. We certainly have information we can share, but yes, yep.
So how long does a person have to live in our city?
Just, if they just moved here, they'd be counted here.
College students? How does it?
Yep, and that's interesting. That's one of the other hard-to-count groups is college students. And it's because, parents, when they get the form, there's this tendency to, I
Fill it
gotta
out
claim
for-
my kid.
yep.
It's like, no, you're supposed to be claimed where you live a majority of the year. So if you're spending 9 months in the dorms or in Moorhead going to school, you should be counted in Moorhead. It's another reason why snowbirds are one of the harder to count populations, because if they're still, let's say in Arizona on April 1st, there might be the thought, maybe people think,
Yeah.
oh, I gotta fill it out here. Well, if you live the majority of the year in Moorhead, this is where you should be
You should
counted.
probably follow whatever your tax filing requirements
That's
would be,
probably a great
my
way to think about it.
theory. Because you're not going to file an Arizona tax return if you're only there for a few months.
Right.
Right.
Good.
But if you've got an address there and an address here, you're gonna get a census card at both.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Okay.
That was helpful. Thanks, Josh.
welcome.
So for the hiring thing, I talked to a lot of people to apply the job, and they're asking me that they didn't get a call. It's not
Yeah,
yet.
not yet. They haven't. Nope. It's they're very behind. But the messaging we've got is that late February or into March is when they're going to start calling to hire people.
Okay, next item is annual report. What do we,
Annual report really is just approve it. If you've reviewed it, if there are any changes or anything you feel should be different, let me know. Otherwise, it's to approve so that we can share that with the city council.
when do we have to share that with the city council? Is there a deadline for that one?
Yeah, it's March 15th.
What is it? It's February.
Tell me again what we have to do
We have to look at it, and then.
by March 15th?
No, tonight.
We just have to look at it and say if it's okay, and then, it's just a report of kind of
Yeah.
what we did, and then.
Yep, just the activities, the
Then we
speakers, the
present
meetings.
it to the city council, and they stamp it with something.
Okay.
And last year,
And we will not have to go before them with it. We just need
oh,
to.
good, they just put it on the consent thing. I did sit through a very long meeting. and
Yes,
had
you
to
did.
leave, So Josh had to take over. It was flood meeting things.
Oh, look at that, Indigenous Peoples' Day.
Look at that.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Does somebody need to make a motion for it?
I don't see anything, nothing's jumping out at me as being incorrect. The dates look good. There's no typos.
I feel like this is us trusting that you've done your job, right?
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
track
yeah, I know.
everything. Yeah,
And look at it, it's got it justified very nicely.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, I'll make the motion to approve the Moorhead Human Rights Commission Annual Report for 2019.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the 2019 Moorhead Human Rights Annual Report?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, hearing none, the annual report is approved. And you'll just put that on the agenda? Perfect. You'll let us know if I, or
Right,
let me
yep.
know. Because I really like going to those meetings. Although I did,
No, it's not needed. No, we just,
Okay.
yeah.
although I did learn a lot about flood protection and stuff. It was actually pretty interesting. Maybe I'll go again. It was long. All right, election of officers. What do we,
We just need to elect a chair and a vice chair.
anybody? Wait, why are you moving your chair?
What does that mean?
Was the vice chair Willard, so
Yeah.
does he automatically
Yeah.
move to the chair? Or we just
Yeah,
so it's not like an add,
no.
my other commission, you just move up.
Oh,
Connie. And for those that want to, I've got the rules and procedures. There's a little description if you want on page 3 of the, or page 2 and 3 of the duties essentially.
So is it just the chair and the vice chair that we're talking about? Because are you
Yeah.
the secretary?
Yeah, technically, yeah, I'm the, yes, as the
City staff?
city
He's
liaison,
all
yeah.
these
Your
things.
staff, yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
okay. I got it. Thank you for clarification. Okay, can I make a nomination then? Is that what we do?
Sure.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I nominate Connie to be our chair. Do I have to give a reason? Yes. I do? Well, because I think you're a good community leader. And I think that your attendance is, I mean, you're here quite often, and I think that that's important for a leader.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you accept the nomination? Is that what you have to do now?
Yeah, we for sure vote on the,
Right. But is it like you do a nomination, you accept it, and then it goes into voting?
I'd say we have discussion.
We're very well organized.
Yeah, I mean, I
Ah.
don't know either.
I don't either, because I don't know what we've done in the past. It's usually like.
You're the chair. How
fine.
did you do?
Because I said, okay, I'll do it, and then here I am.
That's how I
And
remember
then
it.
last year Willard says, it's working, let's just keep doing it, and that's how it went down, but it's
We've got it structured.
very professional. Yeah, but I don't, that's, yeah, because I don't know how else to do it, because we were new. Well, actually,
We've got a
Sarah was
nomination, I
kind
would
of,
say discuss. And then, yeah, vote.
I think for the same reason Heather mentioned, I would second that. I think attendance is important. I think he's involved in the community as well.
Can we vote now?
would you want to do vice chair too then?
We can do
We
it
have the
separately.
same- Okay. Yep, that's,
You're still running the voting.
oh, well, we can vote, I guess. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Yay.
Are you withdrawing that?
I'm just kidding.
Okay. I do have to document if there's. Okay,
I know it's so serious. Oh, you say you have to document everything. I know.
Oh, yeah. Are we done? We were laughing, and I can't remember where we were at.
we were done with that.
Okay.
Now we need a vice chair.
Perfect. Vice chair. Anybody got thoughts?
I nominate Heather.
Look, I put a smiley face by your name. Okay. Sorry.
Discussion or a second?
I second that.
I mean, we can do either, right? So if you guys want to discuss, we can, but
I don't,
Discussion?
yeah. I don't think, I don't have a need to discuss, so.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Go team.
There's no mantle. Make sure everything's running. Announcements?
I have some announcements. Sorry.
Nope.
Did you have some?
Nope, I was just gonna read the rest of the sentence, but no, that's
Oh.
fine. Go ahead.
Reports, maybe?
Yeah.
Is mine. So I sat on the, Josh, what was it that you sent me? It was the Minnesota Human Rights Commission did a
Oh, that little CL,
webinar.
yep.
Did you get on, were you able to jump on one?
I never got an email on my Yahoo or Gmail account.
Yeah.
That's in my spam folder.
It was cool. I'm really glad that we got on, so I'm just gonna, I took a bunch of notes, but I'll just do like super brief overviews of it. A lot of it is just what bills are coming up and what we can do at a local level, kind of like what we just talked about is, I think a big responsibility that we have is making that connection between how we can make change in a city level, but also at a state level. And so a couple of things, one of the big things is with state agencies and their bidding process. So like when big construction things happen, like when they built the football stadium, they broke that down into smaller portions so that more local construction groups could bid, so it wasn't always going outside of the state. So that's one thing that they're really working on, and like equal pay things and having different certificates and workforce certificates to make sure that our contractors are staying in line with that. One of the things that they're, as far as right now, projects and construction, only 6% of the projects are bid on by women. And so it's one of the obvious disparities, I think, in the construction industry in general, but trying to get that a little bit more even. And they didn't have any numbers on minority-owned construction businesses, which I think is a little bit of a problem. Either one, we don't have many, or there's not enough to count, or we're not asking the question. So we talked a little bit about that. They said, I asked the question, like, how do we get connected with other human rights commissions? Because we kind of went around, and there was a lot of cities are doing this partnership with law enforcement. And so I mentioned that we've invited you and you come to the meetings and we do updates, and that was, yay, that was great, and we're doing fun things with that. But like, what else are we doing? And we're having these great conversations, but there's not really a stream of way for us to make change. Like, there's not a clear pattern for us to create bigger change within our community, especially because we have like a zero budget. And so we talked about how are ways that we can better connect with other human rights commissions across the state. So they talked about having, working on having like a gathering or like this little get together in the cities maybe at one point, or like just a way for us to better connect. There's penalty clauses that's going into effect, and so like if you aren't in compliance with things, they used to just shut a job completely down. So like if you're not passing audits, then they would just shut it down, which in reality, that's not healthy because that's losing jobs. If you shut down a job because somebody's not in compliance, then all of the workers aren't getting paid. And so what the state is trying to do is to create like a $5,000 non-compliance fine, but the job continues to go because like the work needs to be done and people need to be paid. There's also trying to get more in-state things, but this is the one that I thought was the most interesting, is they're trying to eliminate the equal pay barrier by removing the previous pay question on state applications. So I don't know, like, you know, when you apply, it always says, what was your last job? What was your last position? And how much did you get paid? There's really no reason for that question other than to continue the cycle of this pay disparity. Because if I put, $1 amount and somebody else puts a higher dollar amount, that's how your next salary is semi-based off of, even if they say it shouldn't be. And so one of the things that they're working on is this pay gap elimination. And so when I asked, what do you need from us out of all of these things, one of the things that they're asking, if there's testimonies or community members who have experienced pay discrimination, based off of these questions, they want to hear those testimonies at a state level to kind of prove why this needs to be eliminated. It's one of their biggest efforts that they're trying to do in the hiring process, because all of these other areas are very construction industrial focused. This is like affects everybody, and it's a question that's on, almost every application I've ever filled out. So that's there. And then we're doing the big push on the talk of discrimination because of hair in the workforce, that's something that Minnesota is really taking serious and is working towards as well. You can find a lot of these updates if you follow them on like Twitter, like the MN Human Rights, or Facebook. They're doing a really good job at putting a lot of these bills out. I think as commissioners, it's our responsibility to know what kind of state conversations are happening so that if there's, different conversations that are coming our way, we're aware of like what's happening and what we can kind of encourage people to be knowledgeable about. I know that we can't like take a side on anything, but obviously we would be in favor of like no discrimination because of your hair. That's part of human rights. Like, because it's, it tends to be like people with dreadlocks or different ethnic style hairdos that have discrimination in workforces. So that was just a quick, super quick update of the hour-long conversation. Thank you for sending that. If there's more of those, I'd be super interested in jumping on as well. Whew, that was,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Awesome.
The other thing is Winter Pride is this weekend. Were you gonna talk about that?
Nope.
I don't know where we missed having the opportunity to have, like, be involved in this. I don't even know if there's like
I
a
don't know
booth
if there's-
opportunity or not.
I don't think there is.
But I know that it's under the FM Pride, like, Facebook has a lot of the events. So I know tonight at 7, NDSU is launching the first event with a drag show that's open to all ages. But then there's different events. There's like a vinyl night tomorrow night, like if you like records. And then there's another party Friday and Saturday. Yeah, there's all kinds of
There's something at Sanctuary, I think
things.
somebody said. but-
Yep. And then next weekend, the 29th, is that
Yes.
Saturday? It's the 29th, is the Trans Gala. So there's an event during the day, which I know it's in Fargo, but I'm not sure if that's what the turnaround time is for the possibility, or if we want to make a better note of it for next year, that maybe we have a booth at that event, because there is like a resource fair
Where's that at?
during the day. I knew you were going to ask me, and I don't know. I know it's the 29th, and then I know that night is the gala. That's one of their biggest fundraisers to support our trans population here in the community. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything?
I'll add quickly, it came up last time, discussion on that Building Bridges conference in, I believe it's April.
Oh, yeah.
It is an option, we can send 1 or 2 people, can cover the cost of that registration for that. You would just need to let me know, and I'll take care of the registrations.
When is it?
I don't know.
Did you go last year?
Yeah,
Yep, Connie went last year.
What did you think of it?
it's amazing. I want to go again. It's nice.
Yeah. Is it like a networking opportunity, or is it?
It's kind of networking opportunity, and a lot of people will talk about the event, experience, all that stuff.
I think it was during the day, if I
Yeah.
remember, during the weekday.
Mhm.
So it was like a tour.
I think it will be 2 full days.
Yeah.
Do you pay for a hotel too, you said?
No, it's local, it's just,
Just in
Oh,
Fargo. Yeah,
so
in
we don't
Fargo.
travel anywhere?
no,
Oh, so you just need to get the day off.
Mhm.
Right.
Oh, cool.
Do you want me to send the group some more info about that
Yeah.
event tomorrow?
Yes, please.
And the diversity job fair, he already shared the information about the diversity, but the diversity job fair is held in 10 a.m. To 1 p.m. March 26, Marriott Hotel here in Moorhead. There will be interpreters, fluent Somali, Swahili, Kurdish, Arabic. And the event is sponsored by Rural Minnesota, SEP, North Dakota Job Service, Moorhead Public Schools, Afro-American Development Association, CAP-LP, Moorhead Business Association, and the Forum.
Where is it at again?
Marianne.
Marriott Hotel here in Moorhead.
Is there a list of all the companies that'll be?
I would
Yeah.
guess so, but I don't know if they have it yet. I mean, because it's the end of March, right?
They did have it. They sent me email today. I can send you for that.
Let's just say there was a university that might want to have a booth there to talk about educational opportunities. Is that a possibility?
Yes,
As well?
yeah.
So-
But there is the Hillary is working all the people that want to have a booth there. I can send you her email.
Yeah.
You just email her, then she will let you know that you'll have a booth there. But yeah, I saw them universities doing that.
Okay. Thanks.
Anything else? No? right, does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
A second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.